our military has been called to duty, to fight and to win the first war of the 21st century. I will not relent until this threat to America is removed. And neither will you.
The rumors of mobilization began during annual training of 2003. And by October 12th of that year, the entire brigade had been mobilized and we're heading to Fort Hood, Texas for the initial mobilization training.
I'm talking 4,500 plus soldiers at Fort Hood. They knew that this was, sort of a milestone event for the Guard. We were really the first full-fledged, full-spectrum operations brigade combat team since, really, if you go back, Korea.
And so everything that we were doing was a brand new mobilization model put together by 5th Army.
It was exhausting in nature, just in terms of the sheer length of time that we spent there preparing, because you're itching and you're ready to go. But at the same time, it really helped us form a good bond. And then Fort Polk just validated everything that we had worked towards up to that point.
Well, we got into Kuwait, and we were out at Camp New York, and of course we had to move into the box or into Iraq.
And so I just remember just everyone lining up their vehicles, and it's kind of like before the big game. Everybody's doing all their prep work, their rehearsals, their last minute things to get ready to go up north.
A lot of people thought that we had all the best equipment in the world. We had soft vehicles. Our soldiers were having to take and put sandbags in the floor. They were identifying, where any type of metal, anything that they could get their hands on.
We were doing everything we could to protect all the soldiers, and that's where the Hillbilly Army came into play. And just thinking, man, we're about to make history as we ride north to Iraq.
The threat had greatly elevated since the time we were at Fort Polk to our time that we spent there at Kuwait.
Over half the units are attacked just even getting into Baghdad itself. So there was a big paradigm shift between what we saw in our first initial site survey and then what happened when we got on site.
As we entered Baghdad, we went in the city very far until we received direct automatic weapon fire fired into our convoy.
I have very strong memories of that day, those 2 days. Serial 5 had to fight their way in. An RPG came through the back wheel well of a Humvee, unarmored Humvee.
One of the Oregon troopers had lost his leg, and we medi-flighted him back into Baghdad ER.
All of a sudden, we're getting mortared every day, rockets coming in.
So we lost 2 guys within the first few hours of even being at Camp Taji.
The very first casualty we took was one that probably shook us the most, just for the simple fact that it was a wake-up call that, hey, this is real.
Reality kicked in real fast, and everything that we had trained on, from indirect fire to direct fire, reacting to fire while mounted and dismounted. Everything we trained on, we actually hit in reality.
And then the day that we were to assume responsibility for our area of operation, this was 24th of April 2004, was when we had the rocket attack that morning.
I think we received something like 19 rockets and mortars that just hailed all over us.
That particular morning, I lost 4 incredible soldiers and had a significant amount of others who were hurt.
And it was so surreal. It was like something out of a movie. That people were running in there saying, "I need medics, I need medics."
Charlie Med, by grace of God, just happened to be right there where it was at. No telling how many lives they saved.
They were right there on site, and the doctors got there immediately. And if it hadn't been for that, we would have probably lost at least 2 other soldiers.
That was a really tragic day, but it was yet a really good day where the unit came together and did what they were supposed to do.
And that was a very emotional and trying time for me personally.
It was confirmed that, my buddy had been hit in a rocket attack. I'd lost him forever.
We could have been very angry, which we were angry, but we stayed professional.
We couldn't, succumb to our emotions right then. We had to keep a straight face and try to go on with the mission.
I think the op-tempo that we maintained right after that kind of helped us stay focused and accomplish the mission. We ended up finding those guys. They didn't stick around to mortars anymore.
We had not gone to the scene on the 24th so that we wouldn't cause anybody anxiety about what we were doing there. And so there we are on the 25th, surrounded by a grieving company.
April the 7th, April the 9th, April the 24th, April the 25th. I can tell you every date that we had a soldier that was killed.
That's how fragile life feels. And I'm thinking to myself, it could have been me.
I will never forget the losses. But I'm extremely proud of what they did, what they accomplished.
Right, we were a full spectrum brigade. We had battle space, and we were doing what infantrymen were asked to do.
Nobody was afraid to jump in and do any part of the job. Nobody was too good for any part of the job. We were all out there sharing the risk and the responsibility together.
From the time that we hit the ground and the time we left, it was sustained levels of enemy action for sure.
We were fighting an insurgency, and so it was never completely clear who the enemy was. You go out on patrol, you would engage with people on the streets, and you never knew whether the person that you were talking to was just a civilian trying to do his job and live his life, or whether it was somebody who was out to do you harm at the first opportunity.
We had some pretty sustained firefights, one of which where we had to come back to our primary fob 3 times, a resupply of ammunition and such.
There's a lot of heroes over there. A lot of heroes that came out of that thing that blossomed, that people you'd never expect how they would react, did the above and beyond the normal call of duty.
Only 39ers really understand what the brigade endured and survived and overcame and succeeded at.
We were a part of the 1st Cav Division. We had the largest area of operation within the 1st Cav Division.
We were given somewhere around 750 to 760 square kilometers of battle space to actually to patrol, to secure, to manage.
Taji itself was a 6 by 6 kilometer square, so we were responsible for oversight of 81 guard towers. Just inside the wire, we would be operating one of the biggest entry control points in Iraq. We were responsible for oversight for the Iraqi National Guard battalion. We had the artillery mission set that was going on, so we were providing counterfire not just for Taji, but most of northern Baghdad. We had not only a 105 battery, we also had a platoon or two 155 howitzers that we had responsibility of.
We did counter-mortar, counter-rocket patrols and found at that point in time what was one of the largest caches of indirect artillery rounds and mortar rounds, as well as some rocket rounds just south of Camp Taji.
We also went out in the community setting up medical treatment and dental treatment. You know, our supplies are limited when we go out there, and just felt there was such a huge need in the communities.
We provided sewer, water, and electrical and technical assistance to the locals. One of our major things was to try to build and extend and build confidence and relationship with the local leaders by providing those services through the military.
And for them to invite us into their homes and, you know, and offer us food, want us to sit down and constantly say thank you. It made us feel that we were making a difference.
And then going into February and seeing that election take place and taking part in that was sort of the culmination of everything we had done for that previous year.
You know, we spent some time in overwatching key polling sites, but for the most part we tried to stay out of sight, out of mind, if you will, so as not to give the perception that we were running the election. I mean, we wanted it to absolutely look like, and in large measure it was. It was an Iraqi endeavor.
Our interpreter got out and voted, and he had that purple ink on his index finger. And he got in the back with me, and he was just rubbing his finger, and I looked over him, he just started bawling. And it just hit me right then that we made a difference in his life. For the first time in his life as an Iraqi citizen, he got to go choose who he wanted to be in power.
I feel we left it better than when we first got there. And you know, that's all we could influence, and that's all that we could control, if you will, were those 10, 11 months there on the ground. So what happened after that, you know, it's up to debate. You know, but while we were there, I absolutely feel we made it better. You know, if you analyze the patrol reports and the after-action reviews and the amount of miles driven, the tonnage of weapons and explosives confiscated, the number of enemy detained, rolled up, if you will, the number of patrols conducted from Tarmiya all the way down through Taji, down to the Adamiya area, across the river with our guys from 1st of 153 that were attached to the Grey Wolf Brigade. I mean, our guys were out doing some heavy lifting.
Whatever task we were given, they found a way to make it happen. They found a way to succeed.
I think there was more apprehension about going home than there was going over there. It doesn't take very long to get green. When somebody's shooting at you or a bomb or rocket goes off, you instantaneously, something inside of you, the training comes out and you're ready to be a combat soldier.
You're living it, you're breathing it every single day. When you come back home, there's no light switch to turn that thing off.
Some of the pictures still play in your head, like a movie or a video, and if that still bothers you, if you haven't come to terms with that, then you still need to go to a counselor. It's not over, and it's never going to change.
It just makes it easier being able to talk to somebody about it and you know, not relive those experiences, but just tell them, you know, how you feel. You know, don't hold it in. Don't you know, try to take care of it yourself.
The more that I talk about certain experiences and the more that I'm comfortable with sharing them, the less traumatic they become to me on the inside. Because when you hold them on the inside, they're like that, it's like fear, you know, it's that inner core of you that you don't want to release out. And it sticks there and it gains power and it grows.
And so we're trying to overcome that pride, that ego, and tell soldiers it's okay to ask for help.
It's part of the healing process, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's an ongoing, continuous process that, like I said, it's harder to come home than it is to go over there.